Dominate. 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 Dominate.
And we're back on episode 10. Dang, it's been 10 episodes already. Crazy.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. I thank you. This is the Prodigal Son podcast. We are found on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And again, this is episode 10, and we have a special guest today, Tyra.
Hello.
How you doing today?
I am wonderful. I'm having a great day.
So I know it's a little later in the evening. This is my first time shooting this late. Mm-hmm. So we gonna rock out.
Oh yeah, I got the special evening session vibes going on.
For sure. So again, I don't know very much about you. I know that you're a writer.
Yes.
A great one at that.
Thank you.
I was talking to my homeboy today named James, my right hand. I'm like, yeah, I got a podcast today with an amazing young lady. She got a play called The Word Revival. He like, Tyra? I'm like, wow, what the heck? He like, man, she's amazing. He said she's professional. She's excellent. She does everything in order. I'm like, that's great. I didn't know nobody that knew her. And for him to give me that, that's amazing. So
yeah.
shout out to you.
Shout out to me. Shout out to James for his support and being a real one and showing up. So a little bit about me. My name is Tyra K. Moore. I am a writer and author and director, amongst other things. And what James was talking about and what I'm here to talk about today is my latest play that I wrote called The Word Revival. Mm-hmm. The Word Revival is a part of an anthology series of plays, so it's like the second installment. But you didn't have to see the first play to see this play at all. It is an original piece that I was inspired to write.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get started from the very start. Did you always wanted to write?
I would say part of me did. I always liked being a writer. I remember being in elementary school, and my homework assignment was to like draw a picture and write about it, and I drew like a kitten playing with shoestrings, and I wrote about it. And my teacher brought it up in parent-teacher conference to my mom and like was crying like it's amazing and she's so good and blah blah blah. And I enjoyed it, but I would say that I didn't think about it until maybe like 2020, where I was journaling a lot, and I just decided, like, you know what, I'm going to put some of my writing out. And I started a blog called Existential Crisis and just kind of shared some of my writing and my feelings and tried to be more vulnerable and open to share, like, more of myself with people. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's when I started writing. It was, like, about 4 years ago, publicly.
So I know the word revival. What does that mean? What does the title mean?
Okay, so the title, let's start with the first part of it, which is the word. So it's a faith-based play / musical, and it's kind of very loosely based, like on the Wiz, very slightly. And I was inspired because I heard a piece of music. I was living in Texas at the time with my sister and my / business partner, who's a co-founder of our production company, Girl Brain Studios. And her name's Shanae. So I heard this piece of music, and it sounded to me like if Munchkinland was at church or something. And I was like, that sounds like a very fun concept to play along with. So I kind of toyed with the idea in my head. And at the time, I was reading my Bible again because I was going through like a really tough time. And I was like, you know what? I used to read my Bible a lot when I was a kid. And I feel like I don't know what to do, so I'm going to just read it and hope it gets better from there. And so in reading it, it started healing me in different places and, you know, doing what it does. So I was like, if more people read this, then we wouldn't feel so down or lost or all of these other feelings if we really went back to it. And so that with the music and combined with like my sister playing pranks on me and she would be acting and I would be like, why are you tricking me? But I was like, she's actually kind of good at this. That's kind of how the word was birthed, like the idea of having like this supernatural fun world that was in the Bible.
Okay.
So that was the first half. The revival half of the title comes from the fact that it's a revival of the play, one, but it also plays on like, you know, if you come from the church world, where you would have revivals, and it's like, you know, where to me in those experiences when I would go to revival, it would be like a super church type of event that it wasn't like an everyday Sunday thing, but it felt more special, even more powerful, where I would see, you know, miracles and the spirit move. So that's why I wanted to add to what we had and be like, this is about to be even more power packed than before.
I like that. So like, all right, I grew up how I grew. I grew up in a home that grew up in church, love God, all that.
Yeah.
Did you grew up in the same type of home? Any pastors in the home?
Yeah, I grew up in the same type of home. My mom's a minister, but my mom was a ultra church lady when we were growing up, where it's like she had us, me and my 3 siblings, she made us join everything in church. Like, you was going to be on the usher board, you on the dance team, you in the choir, you on the praise team. We go on the 6 a.m. morning prayer. We going to stay for afternoon service. We going to the other people church and all of that type of stuff. And it was fun, and it also was frustrating because I'm like, dang, I don't want to get up early and things like that. But I thoroughly grew up in a church where I had a special connection, I would say, from a young age, where I was like deeply engulfed in the Bible. Like, I was reading it all the time, but I was like 7 or 8, you know, as a child, and I'm just reading the whole Bible front to back, and then I'm going and having conversations. My friends were older people, like, where I'm like, you know, I need answers about this. I have questions about this or that or whatever. And so I kind of had like this reputation for a while of being like very, very spiritual. Even like in elementary school, again, I would like bring my Sunday school book and sit at the bottom of the slide and teach the Sunday school lesson to like my peers during recess.
You was a teacher as a child, huh?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
So those are things that I was doing because I was passionate and I just loved it. But I also didn't realize it was like shaping this identity on the outside, like where other people were seeing me as, this is who this person's supposed to be. Because mind you, I'm a little kid, so I'm not thinking about that for real. But, you know, I didn't always stay that way. And, you know, as I got older and like started being a teenager and things like that, whereas people would, you know, try to almost like attack me, like, you're not as great as you think you are. You're not as good. You think you're good. And, you know, and not kind of like this aspect of my personality that I thought was like a level of interest was intimidating to some people because they felt like they couldn't be themselves around me, or they felt like I would be judgmental or uptight. And I'm not saying that they're wrong about that, you know, but it was just like a hassle. And I kind of like had to go through this self-exploration phase and be like, you know, I don't know, who am I? Like, what? I've been doing this, and is this because I want to, or is this how I was raised? And, you know, blah, blah, blah. But long story short, I would say that more lately, I decided to like, build my own relationship with God and what that looks like and what that means versus like the opinions of others.
So I feel like this is my opinion. I feel like if you're walking with God and you're not judgmental and you just a people's person you love and people don't feel comfortable around you, that means it's a conviction on them. They know they ain't right. And it's this like, I feel like it's the God part it's God living in you that's shining through you that's literally blinding them that want to keep them away from you, if that makes sense.
Oh,
You kind of get what I'm saying?
I understand what you mean.
Because
Yeah.
I had that, but I got to a certain point where my light was kind of dim because I started joining into what they was doing.
I feel you. My light was dim too, or you hide it under the bush.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So, like, what was your high school? Because I know high school, being in the church, loving God, it's tough. Mm-hmm. Being in high school, being with your peers, peer pressures, girls, guys. It's a lot of stuff going on in high school.
Yeah.
So was those kind of tough years for you, or?
I would say it didn't get tough until my senior year, but I would say like I was a people pleaser really hard. So people loved me because I was agreeable. You know what I mean? I didn't really. I stuck up for other people. Like if somebody was bullying somebody, but since I was cool with everybody, I could be like, you don't have to do them like that. You know what I mean? Mildly. But very rarely did I have conflicts with other people in high school, but I also was like very active, just how I was in church. I would be like, I was on the cheer team, I was in jazz band, I was in the Christian club, I was like in different activities where I was with different types of people, but I never liked to be like an abrasive person. Mm-hmm. So, and I always I feel like everybody wants to be seen and heard and understood. So I would try to be that wherever I was to anybody and everybody, just because that's what I believe. I would say like until my senior year in high school, and this, I don't know, I'm just talking right now, but
Sure.
Previously before my senior year, I had dated somebody and they were abusive. And it just took the one moment of me learning that they were abusive was like, oh, I can't be with you. You know what I mean? If you're going to attack me, like, physically. And so I, left that person alone or whatever. I had dealt with them, kind of stalking me and whatnot for a while. And then they kind of, this is what happened. I'm just telling the truth.
For sure. Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
So that person, posted my nudes on social media and tagged everybody I went to church with.
Embarrassment.
Yeah, tried to just utterly shame me. And it hurt so bad. I was like, wow. And I felt like it was giving the naysayers see, and the way I tried to handle it was I was just like, I'm going to act like this never happened. So I didn't talk to anybody about it or whatever. And nobody really said nothing to me besides side eyes. So I would say that moment for me was an awakening of space where it was man, this world is crazy.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Using my word. Crazy.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that was a ago now. And I was able to move past it, but I would say outside of that moment, the mostly was finding out people weren't my friends or that I thought was my friends and they didn't like me because I had this goody two shoes image or whatever. But I really just didn't want to be a disappointment, and and that's really what I was doing. But in doing that, just trying to be good, people still will come for you and whatnot.
So that was senior year. You went to college? You go to college?
Yeah.
So how was college like?
So my freshman year of college, I went to Spring Arbor University, which is a Christian college.
Wait, back up. What high school did you go to first?
I graduated from South Lake High School in St. Clair Shores.
Okay.
And then I went to a Christian college in Spring Arbor, Michigan, a couple hours away from the city, and it was a small private school where it only had like maybe like a total of 50 black kids out of the entire student body, which was like thousands of kids. So it was like very different, and I think in my choice in going there was also like a move to try to like please people and also try to make up for this shameful mishap that just recently happened, and like just you know in this space of like everybody makes mistakes, but I still have time to like clean it up and like be a decent Christian lady, like you know what I mean. So that was interesting. It was like the food was good, I would say. We had to go to church like 1-2 times a week, which wasn't a problem. I met some of my best friends there that I'm still friends with now. And it was just too expensive to go there. Like I had a scholarship, but I still had like thousands of dollars to pay per semester. And I'm like, what's the point of getting a scholarship if this don't mean this is lighting it or like y'all can't break this down a little bit or whatever. So I transferred and I went to Wayne State, but I went to college thinking I was gonna be a child psychologist, and I got into like that type of work, and I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not my path. So I was very far away from writing. I wasn't writing anything. I wasn't doing anything creatively or anything like that. I was just working, and I was thinking about my image and what people thought of me that entire time.
So I would say like this again. This is my opinion. I believe in Christians, image is everything.
Yeah,
That's in my opinion. We always care about what other people think of us instead of what God thinks of us.
yeah,
And if we carry ourselves how God thinks of us and not care what people think, we live a better life.
This reminds me of one of the lines in the play that's also a scripture. Some of the lines in the play are actual scriptures, and one of the characters tells the main character, people look at the outside, but God looks at the heart, which is in the Bible. And I think that too. It's like, yeah, I could be looking real clean, but I could be very messed up outside. And I realized like even on social media, which is like about kind of like closer to the first word plays theme, and that character was looking for validation outside of like God and who the people that actually cared and loved her, but she was worried about what other people thought. I feel like sometimes when it's like you focus on the outside, like social media can lie to you. I could hop on here and it looks like I'm having the best day, and I turn my camera off and I'm crying and I'm going through it. Like, so you really don't know what's going on just by looking at somebody. So I don't feel like you should judge based on the outside.
So let me ask you this. What inspired you to write plays? Because I know sometimes your greatest work come out of your darkest moments.
Yeah.
So was that the same for you, where it was a dark place in your life where you was like, oh, boom.
Yeah, and that's so funny, but it is like the first play, and it's so funny because the first play was so funny and fun and joyful and everything, and it's like when I was getting inspiration to write it, I was so not laughing, so not happy. I was very depressed. I was stressed out. I was working my butt off all day, every day. I would clock out of my job and then hurry up and try to freelance just so I can make ends meet and like make sure the bills are paid and not stressed. But it was stressing me out every single day. And I'm like, this is taking a toll on me. And that's when I was like, where you revisit that space that was in me when I was a child. Like the Bible says, like, if you teach a child the way they should go when they get older, depart from it. It was like that pathway opened up, like in my brain was like, hey, remember what you're supposed to do? And I'm like, oh, I'll just start reading. But the stories would be so fun. Like my sister, she used to love when I would read the Bible all the time because I'd be like, you don't know what I just read. I would just tell her like the retelling of the story, but make it so fun and entertaining. She's like, I didn't even know all of that was in there. That sounds fun, or it sounds lit. And, I would say like in all that depression, that is where the inspiration comes from. I would say like what really pushed me to start doing it was like it already started happening a little bit, but I didn't notice. I was a choreographer for about 8 years, and I would love making dances and whatnot, which is also a story because I used to be a terrible dancer when I was a kid. People would always be like, you dance bad, you need to be still, you got no rhythm or nothing. And I always was the type of person that's like, well, I want to dance, so I'm going to have to get good at this, and y'all going to have to see in a minute, So I was always that type of person. So I ended up becoming a choreographer for like 8 years, and I realized like some of my dances, I started making more and more storylines. So like the song might be one thing, but I would say maybe the first time I did it, I made a dance about 3 friends, and one of the friends, she ends up getting cancer and she dies, and 2 angels come in and they take her away. So people are like, what just happened, And with that, the 2 friends that are left to deal with this grief, they deal with it in 2 different ways. One of them, she decides to pray about it, and the other one decides to try to drown her sorrows. And like, she's being mentally tormented where these dancers come in, they're dressing all black, and they're like bothering her, basically, where she's drinking and she's smoking, but she's not getting any relief about it. And then the other friend starts praying for her, the other friend, and then eventually it all breaks free. And that was like the first time I started putting stories into, incorporating storytelling in the dance that weren't just moves, or weren't exactly the lyrics. So I kept doing things like that where the stories would grow more and more, but I didn't equate like, you like writing, you love storytelling, like this is why this is happening. None of that went through my brain when I was doing it. I was just doing choreo, and that's what I liked doing. And I did that for 8 years until I had the idea. I was out of town. It was during COVID. I lived in Texas, and I got a job offer back in Michigan. I was like, bet, I'm about to come back. I don't even like it here. And I went back to the church that I was going to, and the pastor said he wanted to do something that would bring all the creative teams together. And that's like dance, music, audio, visual. And I'm like, I have an idea, which was the Word, the live musical. And it didn't work out with that team. And I believe, personally, it was God's plan for it to not work out with that team. I don't think that was the team for me. Mm-hmm. And I also realized that I was being boxed in when it was like, it's time to box, And so I ended up breaking off from that team, and I was like, hey, I've already copywritten it. Don't worry about it. Me and my sister, we're going to start our production company we've been thinking about, and we're just going to do it. And I'm going to say maybe like 5 minutes after I walked in the door, getting home after saying that, I got a phone call from a guy that I had worked with on like my first event, which was a dance concert, and he called me and said, hey, I saw online that y'all working on a play. Do y'all need a rehearsal space? And I said, as a matter of fact, we do need a rehearsal space. And it just, the entire play, every single time, whenever we needed something, it was there. And it started happening so often that it's like, I'm not even surprised no more. I almost feel like if I hold my hand, I don't close my eyes, the key's gonna fall in my hand, It was like that. And that, I would say, it motivated me even more because it's like, people be like, oh, you have faith and blah, blah, blah. But it took faith for me to say, y'all not doing it, but we're gonna do it. Trust me, I didn't know how we was gonna do that at all. and to like let go of what I thought it was supposed to be with the people I thought was supposed to be there in this setting that I thought was the setting for it. And God said, this not even that. We about to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of flowing with that. And similar things have happened with this play now that we're doing it again, that it just kind of aligns. I'll be quick about this one, but we had went to go visit a certain venue. The venue was out of my budget, but I was like, whatever, I'm gonna go see it or whatnot. So we went to see it. We had left there and started just getting videos on the street just to get some, reels and stuff like that for social media. And this guy, he started talking to us across the street, and he's like, yeah, blah, 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 whatever. He was just seeing what we were doing. That morning, I had said, I really want to get in touch with like the Black Tech Saturday people because I'm into tech as well. And I was like, in that way, I can get connected with them and like kind of start a network, and maybe they'll help promote the play. This was this morning before we went to the venue. Then we went to the venue. Then we went to take videos. We talking to this guy. I kid you not. The guy walked away, and we're like, bye. I turned around, and the guy that's founded Black Tech Saturdays is walking directly towards me. So I'm like, okay, well, here it is. And so I'm like, hey, he don't know me or nothing. So I'm like, hey, what's good? My name is Tyra. And I was telling him, like, a couple people I know that know him and, like, my idea. And he was like, yeah, get in contact, blah, blah, blah. And they ended up, like, posting a story about me. But it just was, like, every time that I think that sometimes prayer, you know how they say, like, pray without ceasing? I feel like God be listening so hard sometimes that even, like, the little desires and, like, the smaller stuff that I say, and this could be with anybody, and I'm going to say with every person, is that, like, even those small things matter to the point where it can manifest in your life. You just got to believe it. And yeah, just put yourself out there. But if you make the moves, if you out there already, you already around in the vibes in the area, the other stuff is going to show up, or it's going to, y'all going to slam into each other.
See, I believe that a lot of us, we don't get a lot of stuff that we want because we don't have the right plan to, you know what I'm saying, to get the stuff we want. So, like, I think on my 2 podcasts ago, 2 episodes ago, a lot of us want to be millionaires, but a lot of us can't be millionaires because we don't have $1 million plan. Why would God bless you with $1 million if you don't have $1 million plan? So since you have a plan with your plays, He's ordered, and his plays, your plays are giving God glory.
Yeah.
He's going to line up everything you need for it to get done. But if it's out of God's will,
yeah, then it won't.
He cuts it down.
It gets cut. I'm going to tell you, like, in the live musical, we had this song and this scene that it was still, the song was tied to the place that we had left. And we were like, it's all right. We could still use the song, blah, blah, blah. And this is not to shade the people or nothing like that or nothing. But, we had this song that was still, like, tied to them versus the rest of all of the music from the rest of the play was all original and it wasn't associated with these people. So that scene and that character, we kept having to recast it because every time we would get a person cast in that role, they would, like, disappear or give us an excuse or ghost us or whatever. And it just kept happening. And I was like, you know what? I think that this means no about this. Now, that doesn't mean every time just give everything up. But I just was like, I think that's a no. Like, maybe we need to change it. So we ended up taking the entire scene out. And I'm going to say it was just like a couple weeks before the play was premiered. And I just was like, you know what? We need a woman character here. We need a female character that resonates with the main character who was also a woman. And I'm like, we need that representation. And so we end up rewriting it and creating a whole new scene with like Queen Esther, and she talks about prayer and being chosen and what that means when you're chosen. Like, you know, sometimes you got to stand up for justice or you got to pray for other people. And that was like some people's favorite scene. It was so cute and just like fun. It was like a house song. We made it because it was like our play dropped on the same day as Beyonce Renaissance, which I would say Jesus loved me a little bit too much because he know how much I love Beyonce. So I was like, just for our play to accidentally premiere the day like that she ends up, and we announced our play release, and then like later she ends up announcing the day her album was dropping was the same day. I'm like, God is good. So we made like a little house song. It was called House of Prayer. And it was just so much fun. But yeah, like if it's not meant to be, he gonna cut it.
But going back to that, I was gonna say sometimes we have to be careful because just because you have opposition don't always mean quit.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes we get caught up, oh, this don't work the first, second, third time. That don't mean quit. Because anytime you do stuff for God, you're going to have opposition.
Always.
I mean, even if you don't do stuff for God, it's opposition.
Yeah.
Whether it's any area of life.
Right.
I work at Ford. I get opposition every day. I ain't gonna quit.
Look what happened to Drake with Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right. You're right. Opposition comes. It's just what are you gonna do with it?
Right. Exactly.
So I got a question for you. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, they think Christians don't struggle. Mm-hmm. Just in our life because how, like I said, we make stuff look like we on the outside we're just so everything is good.
Yeah.
Everything is good.
Right.
So for you as being a woman that's grown up in church, what were some of the things that you struggled with as a woman?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me this question. I've been waiting to talk about this one. No, I'm kidding. I'm glad that you said that. A lot of stuff. I've had conversations with the leadership that when I explained to them that I personally felt discriminated against on several different occasions because I was being disregarded. I was appointed as a leader, but I wasn't included as a leader. They would do stuff and have outings and gatherings and get-togethers where they would say this is the leadership and it would be everybody else except me, you know? And I took it personally. Now I'm much more of a stronger person, but it took me dealing with this like where I felt neglected and I felt like an outcast. And I felt like, you know, all of this, I was always trying to get approval from people so bad that it was like the fact that I was just being shunned and I didn't really understand why. So here's just some reasons why. This is some stuff that I've faced. I feel like sometimes when people talk about holiness, which I was in a teacher's class, small groups class, and we were talking about holiness one day. And the conversation in that class turned into a conversation solely based on women's attire and how women dress. And I was so annoyed because I'm like, one, modesty, what you think is modest and what somebody else think is modest is like, it might be something different, one. Two, why is this the only topic versus like actions or behavior? And I had a conversation with the teacher of the teacher's class, and I said that made me not want to come back to the class. And he was like, why? I said, well, like Jesus was like, if your eyes cause you to sin, pluck it out. If your hand cause you to sin, cut it off. He ain't say, what was she wearing though? Mm-hmm. Like, at all. And I just was like, wow, this is like, it makes me feel unwelcome And I felt like that in church settings where it was like, ooh, yikes. Soon as you come in, if your heels a little too high or your skirt a little too short or your arms a little too out or whatever the rules are, where it's like, I'm now not paying attention. Now I'm self-conscious. Now all of the message and stuff is being drowned out by me worrying about if you're approving of what I came in today when I'm supposed to come as I am. But to me, it's like, isn't it about how you carry yourself inwardly with your actions and how you treat other people and how you love them versus like just a split in a skirt? I was tired of it. So that's number one. I would say leave ladies alone. If you're lusty, that's on you. And if you're choosing because she looks good, give her a compliment. Say, you look beautiful today. And shush it up because you didn't buy her outfit. You didn't go shopping with her. You're literally missing the point here. And so that's number one. Number two, here's another one. This will be the last thing. I understand I have a ring on this finger. This is just for outfit purposes. Now, please leave women alone for not being married. I feel like I was also being discriminated against and overlooked because people was giving me the "where your husband at, what's wrong with you" type of ordeal. And just leave them alone. And don't rush people into making decisions like lifelong commitments for your comfort and your rules. Leave them alone, please.
I think it's a difference. So a lot of stuff you said was religion based.
Exactly.
Because a lot of churches that I've been to growing up, long dresses, stockings, hats.
Yeah. You sometimes you can't even wear pants.
No, of course.
Yeah.
And you only can do with what you've been taught.
Yeah.
So literally it starts from the top on down. But also, well, finish what I was saying. Religion is one thing, relationship is another.
Mm-hmm.
So religion won't get you there. Your relationship will.
Exactly.
So my relationship, if you have a relationship with God yourself, he will begin to tell you what you can and can't wear.
Dude, exactly.
I don't think that's right. If you have a real relationship, I was just talking to my dad earlier today, and he had brought up because he's a faith-based preacher. He's a faith-based. So he was talking about whatever I asked, I get.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But as long as you are in purpose,
Yeah.
living on purpose, why would God bless your mess if you ain't on in purpose?
Yeah.
So if you have a relationship with God, like friendship, if we was been friends for years,
Right.
and hey, I don't think you should wear that. And you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people don't kind of get how God is, because that's how God works. If you have a real relationship, that's how he talks to you.
Yeah.
Hey, take that off.
Exactly. I think the same thing. I was just talking to somebody and they was like, they like said a swear word. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I said, you don't have to apologize to me. And I was having this same conversation with them. I was like, I feel like all of that change comes with the growth that you in your relationship with God. Some people are just masked figures and they might seem this way or that way. But, you know, really, if you're transformed or you have this real relationship, then those things that you concerned about, your mind is gonna change about it. Be like, you know what, I don't even want to do this no more. And that just depends on the person and their relationship. I totally agree. And this is not to say you can't correct nobody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. But sometimes when it's people first time or they're just coming back or they're just like getting in there, and now the only example that you can give for holiness is what a woman wears. This is not good for me. And this is not good for any other woman who maybe likes the way she look, or she may want to show a little leg or something. Like, I feel like sometimes all of that religion stuff, some religious based things are distractions, and I think that's a distraction.
No, for sure. And I do agree with. So it's two things that in today's church. Two things that people in today's church don't talk about. They don't talk about holiness, and they don't talk about hell.
Ooh.
In today's church, we preach about blessings. We preach about 100 ways to get rich. We preach about love. We don't preach about holiness, or we don't preach about hell. And I think a lot of these churches, we tend to the people, because the first thing, if you're a pastor, the question they're going to ask is, how many people's in your church? And that judges how well you're doing. You know, they say, I'd rather have 15 people in my church that's saved and on fire for God than 50 people that's not doing nothing.
Yeah. I would say that it depends on what's happening there, and like the purpose behind like y'all mission. I remember having my first event, this dance concert, and we had like a debriefing after the concert, and this lady told me that, and this person was an elder, and they told me that I was bringing in the riffraff, and I was like, riffraff? You mean like the kind of people like Jesus would have hung out with, like them type of people? I feel like sometimes you could be like, oh, my church full, but it's like, yeah, but is it making an impact? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, are you helping the community? Are y'all building y'all faith up? And I'm not saying that this is not pointing out or giving no example of anybody church that's not doing it or nothing like that. But I would say, like, you just gotta pay attention to like what your mission is, and like stick with that, and really be sincere and authentic about it. Cause you gotta think about it, like, Jesus started out with who? 12 people? I'm kidding. No, he had a bunch of people, but you know, like, just because something looks certain type of way, like, you gotta think about, like, John the Baptist. He was in the woods eating honey and locusts and stuff. Like, you was going to that church?
Girl, you a church girl for sure. You a church girl for sure. That's cool. So, with you growing up, being in church, how can I put this? Was it any time that you feel like that you walked away from God?
Yeah. I would say like that time was in college, sophomore year in college. I had moved from the small Christian college I was going to, and I transferred to Wayne State because it was more affordable for me. And it wasn't the transference of a Christian college to the real world or whatever that did it, but I had lost somebody that was very close to me. And remember I told you, like, when I was little, I would befriend older people a lot of times and talk to them about a lot of stuff. And I had befriended this couple. They had kids that was like my age, and I was cool with them, but I was really their parents' friend. And so I would go over and I would talk to them, and we would catch up, and we would just talk about all kinds of stuff. And the husband, they were both preachers, and the husband had gotten sick, and I prayed about it, and I was like sure that he would be totally fine, no doubts. Let me give you some real tea.
For sure. No cap.
So I'll give you some real tea, like something that I don't share with a lot of people that most people don't know. So when I was 5, I was like 5 or 6. I don't remember. But my family, we went to go visit this deacon who was sick at the time. And we were there for a long time. And I'm like, dang, we here long. Like, when we go home? So I snuck down the stairs to kind of spy on the adults to see what was going on. And then I got caught. Like, oh, you come in here. Because they were about to pray. And they asked me to pray for him. So I did. Then he ended up dying. And what nobody knew, but I knew, the devil told me a lie that day when I found out he passed away. And he said, "You're a curse. You're bad luck. And when you're around, people lose. You're a loser. And you make people lose." And I believed that about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I silently carried that with me, which motivated all of like me going extra hard and all this other church stuff to try to erase what I thought about myself, that nobody else knew that I thought that. But they didn't see how really I was carrying this guilt or whatever. And so I pushed it to the back of my brain. And then when the other minister, when I was in college, my sophomore year, he passed away, it came directly back up and said, "See, I told you." And all of these things, like, I was filled with so much anger and sadness and confusion, all of these emotions that come with grief. And I didn't really know what to do with that. And I just said, skip this. There's no point. It's not working. If I pray for somebody and they just die anyway, what am I doing? Like, I could have just been turning up, And so I started turning up and going out and just hanging with everybody else. And, it was fun, I guess, but it didn't deal with the core of the issue.
It's always fun till it's not.
Exactly. It was fun till it wasn't. And it's like this feeling, I'm just trying to drown out my own sadness in this. And I'm lying because I don't want people to know I'm sad. I don't want people to know I feel this way about me. I want people to think I'm cool. So I'm going to just do cool stuff and, twerk the night away till I pass out. And I don't care no more. But it's like, girl, you do care. That's why you worried about it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's when I really, lost my religion or whatever it was. And it's funny because this play, the word revival that's coming out in September is about grief. And it's about dealing with that. And it's also about being afraid to be vulnerable and allowing people to know that you're hurt. It's like, we know that you're hurt because it's coming out in other ways. So you're not doing that good of a disguise job here. You know what I mean? It's like if I really put some glasses in the nose and the mustache on, I still see you or whatever. And so that's what was going on with me. I would say that I detached, and then I started, kind of drifting back. I was dealing with different. I would say that me and my sister, Shanae, my business partner for Girl Brain, we at the time, during this time in our life, we had all this turmoil where we didn't like each other and we would fight. And we ended up deciding, let's actually rebuild our relationship and become friends and forgive each other and just try it out. We are sisters. It makes sense to at least try with you. So we decided to work on our relationship. And I would say once we got in this space of forgiveness and letting go, that was around the time when I started teaching dance and all of these things I never really opened myself up to the possibility, especially when people previously told me I was bad at it or that I couldn't do it. All of the lies, you know what I mean, that were being told to me, I decided to believe them. And then after a while, I started realizing that I can choose to disagree with this. I can choose how I could decide, in spite of my emotions, how to actually feel. Like, this does not mean this is true. Just because you heard this thought or somebody said this to you, that doesn't make it the end all be all. And I became more confident because, like, with dance, I had like a strategy of every dance had a theme, it had a scripture, and it like had a lesson. So whenever I would teach a dance in dance class, I would be like, okay, this dance is about this scripture passage here where the Bible speaks about this. This is why the singer's singing that. This is why we're doing this dance. So that way, when people see it and they hear it, this is the message that they're receiving. So it's important. That way, everybody understands what we're doing here. And it started becoming more popular, our dances. The more that you practice at something, the better that you get at it. And so we were consistently practicing. We were dancing like twice a month. So every 2 weeks, I would be bam, bam, bam. Here's a new dance. Here's a new lesson. Here's a new everything, But I was passionate about it. I loved it. I had like a little dance journal where I would draw stick figures and like, okay, then we're going to turn. This is the positions. This. Almost like football plays to help me remember. But I was just happy with what I was doing. But it also was growing the young women that I was working with. And it also like set up a pattern of what other ministries wanted to implement when they were doing stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is great, this is wonderful. But that was pretty much that. Like, we ended up doing a statewide competition. We were the only Christian group in the competition. And like some of our church came out. We were getting invited out a lot. And my pastor was like, he made a joke like, the dancers are getting so popular, like they're getting invited out more than me. And we ended up dancing for like Governor Whitmer at this MLK Day brunch, and was in the newspaper and doing all these things that was awesome. And I was always about servicing like the people. So like we would do little things. Like I remember during COVID, we were all home, and I was concerned about the senior citizens. And I'm like, you know what? We should do something. I'm going to make some signs, and I'm going to call and get all of the addresses of the senior citizens at our church. And we're going to pull up and do our most popular dance called Work It Out, which is what we entered the competition with. And we're going to just pull up, hop out the car, and do the dances. Like, we're going to blast the music from the car and just do it in their lawn to cheer them up because everybody's stuck at home. And so we did this. We ended up recording it and went out to like one of the mothers like lived in like a senior citizen home, and we went around the back to like in their courtyard to where a bunch of like senior citizens could see us from their windows, and just like, we love you signs and we miss y'all and things like that. I think that some people, it started happening again when I was doing too much, that people started getting mad or being like, who do you think you are? You doing too much. You need to sit down. Or, that's when all of that stuff started happening to come for me or whatever. But I would say, like, me losing that religion back then, it really made me realize, like, I've been believing this lie for so long to say, like, I'm a curse, when understanding, like, there's people's time to go. And it's like us, so if somebody's, 80 something, they might pass away, or even if they're not, it's not about my timing. It's about God's timing, and making peace with not controlling everything, and letting God have control about things. So I would say all of that it took me down under and brought me back some other way.
So I got a couple of things before we close. So the first thing is, one of the scriptures I live by is what the enemy made for bad, God made it good. And I think for a lot of us that's doing ministry in our own way now, we've dealt with pain, we dealt with rejection, we dealt with resentment, we dealt with the stuff the enemy has placed in our head at a young age because he wanted to end us back then.
Right.
But ultimately, we took that and God made it good. So because it was the stuff we knew then or went through then as allowing us to help the people that we're helping now.
Yeah.
Because if that stuff not on your resume, how can you help them? There's no possible way because they're not going to receive you.
Yeah.
So I got two questions for you.
Can't relate.
I got two questions for you before we close. For one, how important is forgiveness to you? Because I know even the Bible talks about if you don't forgive your brother, how can he forgive you? And for you to go through it with your sister, I know that was big.
Yeah.
So how important is the word forgiveness to you?
Wow. I would say it's crazy because my sister is my best friend now. I would say forgiveness to me reminds us how humans are. People are naturally imperfect. And if somebody says that they're perfect, don't believe that person is a liar. And I would say that forgiveness is so important because I was just making a post about this on a different page. It literally releases you from the attachment that you had to those emotions that's attached to the offense. So however negative you feel about the situation, forgiveness holds the key to unlocking the freedom from those feelings about it. It's not saying like you won't ever feel nothing about this or some type of way and whatnot, but that healing from the situation, because at this time when the offense happened and then you attached on to the negative emotions that's requiring the forgiveness, it's still there. You're holding on to it. It's loaded onto your back and it's weighing you down versus when you decide to like release it, then you don't carry that anymore. Mm-hmm. It allows you to move forward more smoothly now. Now you can walk a little straighter. Now it's not as bad or as heavy or as dark as it was previously when you were having these, when you were unforgiving.
Okay, I feel you. So then, two, if Jesus was standing right here in front of you, what's two questions you would ask him?
What's two questions I would ask? I would probably, I don't know if I would ask him anything. I would really try to be quiet and listen to what he had to say. I would have asked, please speak to me.
So you only got no one question.
I would say, I don't know. I don't know what I would ask. I would be more intrigued than anything. And no, maybe I would ask him, I don't know. I feel like I know him pretty well, but I'm still learning. So I would probably ask him to continue to teach me and continue to guide me, please. And help me to know that you're present even when I don't feel like you're there. Please remind me. And that's probably what I would ask.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a minute, man. Shout your play out.
All right. So come see the Word Revival on September 1st at Mary Grove Conservancy Theater in Detroit, Michigan. Now, you can follow us at Girl Brain Studios on Instagram. You can also follow me at Purity, the letter N, Love. And if you're interested in like volunteering, maybe you want to be a stagehand or anything more information, feel free to message us. But yeah, the tickets are on sale right now. If you watch the Prodigal Son podcast, DM us take a screenshot or share the podcast video and tag Girl Brain Studios, and we will send you a 50% off promo code to get half off of the word revival ticket. Right now, tickets are $30, but if you share, if you like, if you follow, and you message us or you tag us, you will get the 50% off promo code. That's off of participating with the Prodigal Son podcast. You heard it here first. It's in Detroit. The word revival. There'll be music. There'll be dancing. There's going to be a DJ. There's going to be a special guest performance from Stellar Award-winning artist. You're going to not want to miss out. It's going to be a load of fun. There's also going to be food trucks and more. So come out. It's going to be a great day to celebrate.
So this is the Prodigal Son podcast. And of course, baby, we dominating.
Sharon Watson. Dominate. 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 Dominate.